The world of mirrorless cameras is about to change forever. For a long time, we have seen small updates. We have seen cameras get a little bit faster or a little bit sharper. But every once in a while, a camera comes along that shifts the entire industry. The Sony A7R VI is that camera. It is shaping up to be one of the most important launches in the history of digital imaging. This is not just another step in a long line of products. It is a total transformation of what we think a camera can do. Sony has always been a leader in high resolution. They owned the market with the A7R series for years. But now, they are moving into a new era. This is a shift that will change how photographers and filmmakers work. It is a shift that will change how we define a flagship camera. When Sony first released the A7R series, people were shocked by the detail. Over the years, that detail has only grown. We went from 36 megapixels to 42, and then to 61. Each step felt like a massive win for professionals. But the A7R VI represents something even bigger. It is a major leap that bridges the gap between full-frame cameras and medium-format systems. For years, if you wanted the ultimate detail, you had to carry a heavy, slow medium-format camera. You had to deal with slow focus and massive bodies. Sony is changing that narrative. They are bringing that level of quality into a compact, fast, and smart system. This is why the anticipation is so high. People are not just looking for a new camera. They are looking for the future of photography. At the very heart of this excitement is the new sensor. This is the part of the camera that everyone is talking about. The rumors and leaks have been pointing to a 80-megapixel full-frame BSI sensor. This is a massive jump from the 61 megapixels we saw in the previous model. Why does this matter? It matters because detail is the foundation of high-end work. If you are a landscape photographer, you want to see every leaf on a tree. If you are a fashion photographer, you want to see every thread in the fabric. If you are a commercial shooter, you need the ability to crop your images and still have enough resolution for a giant billboard. The A7R VI provides that freedom. It gives you more room to work than almost any other camera on the market. Some early rumors suggested Sony might go all the way to 100 megapixels. While that sounds impressive on a spec sheet, 100 megapixels brings a lot of problems. It creates massive files that slow down your computer. It creates a lot of heat inside the camera. It can also hurt low-light performance because the pixels have to be very small. Sony seems to have found the perfect middle ground with 80 megapixels. It is a number that provides incredible clarity without making the workflow impossible. It is a balance of power and purpose. It allows you to print at enormous sizes while still being able to edit the files on a modern laptop. This shows that Sony is listening to professional photographers. They aren't just chasing a high number for marketing. They are building a tool that actually works in the real world. But resolution is nothing without quality. A high megapixel count doesn't matter if the image is noisy or flat. That is why this new 80MP sensor is such a breakthrough. It is expected to offer richer dynamic range than anything we have seen before. Dynamic range is the ability of the camera to see detail in both the brightest highlights and the darkest shadows at the same time. For a photographer, this is the difference between a white, blown-out sky and a beautiful sunset with visible clouds. It is the difference between a black shadow and a shadow that reveals the texture of a jacket. The A7R VI is designed to give you more data in those areas. It gives you the freedom to push your edits further in software like Lightroom or Capture One. You can recover details that would have been lost on older sensors. Tonal accuracy is another major focus for this new flagship. Sony has been working hard on how their cameras handle color. We expect the A7R VI to have the most accurate skin tones and color transitions in the series. This is vital for portrait photographers who need their subjects to look natural. It is also important for product photographers who need the colors in their photos to match the real item perfectly. When you combine this color accuracy with 80 megapixels of detail, the result is an image that looks three-dimensional. It has a depth and a realism that is hard to find in other full-frame cameras. It truly begins to rival the look of medium-format cameras that cost twice as much and weigh twice as much. To handle all of this data, Sony had to upgrade the brain of the camera. An 80-megapixel sensor creates a massive amount of information every time you press the shutter button. If the processor is slow, the camera will feel sluggish. You might have to wait for the camera to finish thinking before you can take another shot. This is why Sony is using its next-generation combination of the Bion's XR engine and dual dedicated AI processors. This setup is a powerhouse. It is designed to move massive files through the system instantly. It ensures that the menus remain fast and responsive. It ensures that when you look through the viewfinder, you are seeing a smooth, real-time image without any lag. Of course, shooting 15 frames per second at 80 megapixels creates a storage problem. Your memory cards will fill up very fast. Sony has addressed this by supporting the latest memory card technology. The A7R VI will feature dual slots that support CF Express Type A cards. These cards are incredibly fast and can handle the massive stream of data coming from the sensor. For those who don't need that much speed, the slots will also support standard SD cards. This gives creators options. You can use the expensive, fast cards when you are shooting action, or the more affordable SD cards for everyday photography. Sony understands that different creators have different budgets and needs. The buffer is another area where Sony has made improvements. The buffer is the internal memory that holds your photos before they are written to the card. If the buffer is small, the camera will stop shooting after just a few seconds. With the A7R VI, the buffer is expected to be much larger. This means you can keep your finger on the shutter for longer. You won't miss the decisive moment because your camera was busy saving files. This is especially important for wildlife photographers who might need to wait for a specific movement or action. Having a deep buffer gives you the confidence to wait for the perfect shot. The move to 80 megapixels also changes how we think about cropping. Sometimes, you can't get close enough to your subject. Maybe you are at a sporting event and you are stuck in the stands. Or maybe you are shooting a shy animal in the wild. With 80 megapixels, you can crop into the center of your image and still have a high-resolution photo. You can basically turn a 200mm lens into a 400mm lens just by cropping. Even after a heavy crop, you might still have 30 or 40 megapixels left. That is more than what most professional cameras offer as their total resolution. This gives you a massive advantage in the field. It makes your lenses more versatile and gives you more options in the editing room. But this resolution also demands perfection. At 80 megapixels, every single mistake is magnified. If your focus is slightly off, you will see it. If your hands shake just a little bit, the image will look blurry. This is why the secondary systems in the A7R VI are just as important as the sensor. The autofocus has to be perfect. The stabilization has to be incredible. Sony has recognized this challenge. They aren't just giving us more pixels, they are giving us the tools to make those pixels useful. They are building a system that ensures your 80 megapixel shots are actually sharp and usable. As we look at the first half of this camera's story, it is clear that the focus is on raw power and quality. The sensor and the processors are the engine that drives everything else. Without this foundation, the advanced features wouldn't matter. But Sony has built a very strong foundation. They have created a machine that can see more, think faster, and capture more detail than almost anything else on the planet. This is the beginning of the next chapter in the A7R story. It is a chapter defined by 80 megapixels of pure clarity. It is a chapter where the limits of full-frame photography are pushed further than ever before. For the professional who demands the best, the A7R VI is more than just a camera. It is a way to see the world in higher definition. It is a way to capture moments with a level of realism that was once impossible. Whether you are shooting the grand scale of a mountain range or the tiny details of a macro subject, this camera is built to deliver. It is a tool for those who never want to settle for good enough. It is for those who want the absolute best that technology can offer. And from what we can see so far, Sony is ready to deliver exactly that. The A7R VI is coming, and it is ready to change everything we know about high-resolution imaging.